Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
All is well. How are you?
I am good. We have been doing some NBA season previews. You've been releasing them on the True Hoop Substack. Of course, everybody should be subscribed to that. We talked about the Denver Nuggets, champions just 2 seasons ago. And now the Indiana Pacers preview has been released, as has the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I want to start with the Pacers. You coined the way they played basketball last year as blur ball. And they were pretty much the only team last season that went 11 deep during the season, maybe 12. They really played a ton of guys, and it was mainly because you cannot play 38 plus minutes at that kind of pace with just 5 dudes, right? Guys are going to get hurt, worn down, and broken. And that was a huge factor, coupled with the Knicks' injuries, of course, but if you want to be honest about it, it's because they don't play deep, right? They only play 5 guys 40 plus minutes a game. That was a huge factor in them advancing to the conference finals against the Boston Celtics. And in your article, you pointed out that a Celtics assistant coach told you that the Pacers gave the Celtics the most trouble this season, and it's because of their offense and its constant action upon action upon action. So I want to start there and just talk about, again, it seems so simple, David, and I just don't know why every team just doesn't do this. It's so much harder to guard teams when that is your preferred method of playing versus, all right, single high, pick and roll, and then let the best player cook one-on-one.
Well, okay, so first of all, one of the great things about being an older man is everyone also having very little pride in anything. I don't fucking know if I invented blur ball. I may have. It sounds like me.
Wait, David, turn your gain down again. It's gotten super hot.
Oh,
again. Yeah,
I got super close to the mic.
Yeah. Turn it down.
How about now? How's that?
Yeah, you're good. Much better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I may have read it somewhere. I may have heard someone reference it. It's how they play. It's how they play, and really, the blur is a double-sided meaning. Because it blurs speed, right, pace, it kind of fits in. But they also, with Buddy Hield, who no longer is there, ran a lot of what's called blur screens, which is when you're kind of racing towards someone to set a screen, but you don't, and you just run past it. You force those defenders thinking, is he going to screen? Is he not going to screen? That may cause some indecision, which is all Buddy needed to be a little more open. Once he was gone, really their only effective blur screener was Tyrese. He wasn't so effective. That might have been because of his hamstring. We all think it was. I don't know. We'll find out more this year. That being said, whoever came up with the term, it's an appropriate one. I like the Cuisinart idea better, which I think was Henry. But I do think it captures what they do, and then going into those actions, those I call it stacking actions, where I think more teams should use it. I know why they don't. A lot of coaches just don't have the leverage to convince really good offensive players we're better when you don't dribble it 5 times every single time. Let's make the defense work with defending action upon action, and let's trust that the ball will find our best scorers more commonly. And that's why I hate the phrase "take what the defense gives you." Well, if the defense gives you shots by bad shooters, would you take that? That's not good offense. No, you want to dictate. So the idea in blur ball is to get the ball and people moving a lot, and then trust. So we talk about playing the right way. Trust the ball will find your more effective shooters, scorers, drivers, and then you're going to have better sequences leading to more, I think, more efficient, productive shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've been saying I think the way the Warriors and the Pacers play is how everyone in high school should be teaching their guys how to play.
Yeah.
With really no exception.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't change things up late in the season if the matchups dictate, but it forces you to learn how to play the game the way the game is being played now. Lots of movement, lots of shooting threes. You got to guard a lot of the court, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rick Carlisle has. He's got the leverage to do it. He's got a ring. He's a champion level coach,
mm-hmm.
championship level coach, even beyond that ring in the sense of people think of him as one of the top
mm-hmm.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
And as Henry's mentioned to me before, and I think on the podcast too, when Mark Cuban first looked into who to hire, he had Wayne Winston, his math guy, break the numbers down and who gets players to play their best compared to the rest of the league. Carlisle was the winner, and that's why Cuban hired him, and they won a ring together. And only left because Luka just wasn't going to play that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know that he should.
Right.
He's just so much better than everybody. As one Pacers assistant said to me, Luka's got more talent in one finger than the rest of the league has, in their whole hand in terms of each individual player. This is what he was saying. He was speaking hyperbolically, but we understand the point. And so maybe he doesn't really want to play that way. Tyrese has embraced it, and he still had an amazing season, even despite all the injuries to his injuries to his hamstring, because he embraced that blur ball strategy.
It's interesting you mentioned Luka because obviously we know how talented he is, a perennial MVP candidate. He was All NBA his rookie year, which is ridiculous.
Was he really?
I think so. Or maybe my second year. Year 2 was All NBA.
I think it was second year. Yeah, I think it was second year.
Either way, he's not been below All NBA first team, and this is what, year 4 in the league? 5? I mean, this is
and probably the favorite this year to win.
It's unreal.
I would guess if you looked at Vegas, he'd be the favorite.
Probably, but imagine, and I know. Look again, the way he plays. And it's because he's so much better, and that slower system makes sense for him. But imagine if he did play in this kind of system, would he be even better? And would the Mavericks be even better?
I think their offense would be better. I think he would have more to give defensively. I think they'd be harder to guard in the postseason. And they lost in 5 games to Boston.
Yeah.
Not that doesn't mean that the new offense would change it, but he's not going to, so it doesn't matter. He's going to play the way he's always played.
Listen, and it's very to be clear, it is a very, very good way to play basketball. He is excellent.
When you're him.
Right. Yeah. All right, back to the Pacers. A couple players you mentioned in the piece, and I want to talk about them briefly. Jarris Walker was someone I know you're high on from a defensive standpoint. What do you think is so key for him this year for the Pacers to, again, continue that ascent and for get back to where they were last year, which is no guaranteed thing to get back to the conference finals?
No, not at all. I mean, people talk about Giannis being out from Milwaukee and the Knicks and all the injuries they had, which was Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle and Brunson and OG. Well, Tyrese was out for he's not himself in the overall playoffs, and certainly not against Boston when he didn't play but 2 games. And Mathurin didn't play at all. He's going to year 3. Walker didn't play at all. He's going to year 2, and he's like 20. I've seen Jarris Walker on the court recently, and if he could be their wing defender by April, so play him all year, lose all year with him in the rotation, but get experience. His ability to defend the rim, his ability to use length against wings, his size is better than Nesmith and Nembhard, who are guards, 6'5" guards. Getting on the offensive glass, he's a really gifted passer. And I happen to witness him doing some drills where I could see, this guy very quickly understands what's going on offensively as a playmaker. He doesn't need to do much with Halliburton and Siakam and Nembhard and Turner and Nesmith 40+% from 3. Then you got T.J. McConnell and Ben Mathurin off the bench. Ben Shepherd, who had a good postseason. Walker play defense, get on the glass, rim protect a little bit too. It gives him a big front line. If he ends up, I've made the comment that if he can end up starting the 3, him and Siakam at 4 and Turner at 5, that's a hell of a front court.
Yeah.
Compared to Nesmith that's starting at the 3 in terms of size and length. So I like his personality. I know he seems to be smart. I talked to a Pacers coach who said he picks things up pretty quickly. In fact, in some cases, extremely quickly. I think in most cases, guys that draft in the top 10 who aren't going to play much because their team is loaded, they kind of fall into easy street. He killed the G League just with talent. This is a big moment for him this year. There's an opportunity for him, and they need him. I think, unless Mathurin, it becomes that guy. He's a very different player. But if he can be defending the Tatums and Browns and so forth, that means you need less of Walker. But I don't think he's got it compared to what Walker can do.
Yep. You mentioned Ben Shepherd in just now coming off the bench. He did have a good postseason. I thought he shot pretty well. Had some
Until
good
Boston.
shooting until the Boston series. So is that the key for him? Consistency with the shot and defending for him to continue getting high plus minutes?
Yeah, he's a 3-and-D guy. He plays a hot motor, a lot of energy. Shot it well a little bit in the playoffs, and then died in Boston. As I told a Pacers player recently, if Ben Shepherd's starting for you against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, you should not expect to win those games. He's a rookie Ben Shepherd.
Right.
Year 3, year 4 Ben Shepherd might be different. He's got an interesting role as a true 3-and-D kind of guy. Plays really hard, plays the right way, doesn't take bad shots. That's something Jarris Walker needs to take a memo from. Jarris only played one. Jarris played at IMG, which is not,
right.
I don't think, a high-level high school basketball situation. It's a fun situation. You do some player development, but I just don't think they teach you to play great, in my opinion. I think Montverde does better. Nevertheless, he played 1 year in college, and boom, he's in the NBA. Not playing, goes to G League. It's not such a great thing. Shepherd played 4 years.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. I think they really like him.
Yeah.
So, I think Walker Mathurin is going to battle for a spot. I think Shepherd's going to get a spot in the rotation.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Interesting. And then finally, a player who we were both high on coming out of the draft, had limited high school experience because of what happened to him in Memphis, went to Golden State and was asked too much in that offense, which you described in the article. A player told you that it was just asking too much of him. So in the simplest terms, what does James Wiseman need to show in training camp and do so that he can be the legit backup for, I mean, he probably is just because of the depth chart, but to get significant minutes as a backup center for the Indiana Pacers?
I'm going to address the starting center thing in a minute. Let's start with your question. They need rim protection. Isaiah Jackson gives them some of that. They need to get to the free throw line more. Even if Wiseman doesn't make free throws at a high level, it helps their better free throw shooters do. If you're in the bonus,
getting the bonus
and they get fouled, they get to the free throw line more. Rebound, defensive rebound, and just own the paint on both ends. You don't got to worry about shooting threes. Blur ball can, Isaiah Jackson doesn't shoot threes. All their other centers do. Miles Turner last year's Jalen Smith. He doesn't have to shoot threes. Just live at the rim, the dunk spot, set great screens, a lot of pick and roll, sealing guys inside. The Pacers, I'm quite sure. So how do you get better? You're number 2 offense in the history of the league. Boston number 1. How do you get better? Well, guys can shoot better from 3. You also get to the free throw line more. That's never anything but a good thing, typically, anyway. Oh, pretty much ever. Always get the free throw line more, better for your offense. Wiseman can help with that by just establishing a dominance at the rim and not trying to show off you can do more than that. Just do that. And there's a need for that because Miles Turner's in a contract year. Mm-hmm. They're paying Nembhard 20, 19 and change. Siakam, whatever, 47, 40 and change. Halliburton, tremendous amount of money, a supermax guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They're going to bring in. Miles Turner is a beloved there. He's an original guy. He was drafted like in maybe 2013 or 2015. I forget, one or the other. But they love him there. But something's got to give. And if they can find a productive center for less money, that'll be better for them because they still have to decide on what to do with Mathurin and Walker potentially in one more year.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes total sense. Indiana will be a team to watch for sure. Obviously David has them 15-32. Again, they were one of my teams that I have solidly in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see where they finish out the season. Are they able to sneak into that top 3 in the Eastern Conference
or top 4 even
or top 4, right? So they get
who would your top 4 be right now?
Obviously Boston. Look, Philly is going to be good as much as I have issues with them in the postseason. I think they'll win a bunch of regular season games. And I think the Knicks, as much as I'm going to be down on them in the postseason, but winning enough regular season games, I think they will. And then I think Indiana's right there.
Indiana and Milwaukee will battle it.
My issue with Milwaukee is, David, so Giannis's superpower is I just go harder than everybody else. Well, that with an 82-game schedule he's seeming to realize, well, I can't keep doing this because I'm going to break and then we're not going to be good enough. And the rest of that team, I don't love it. I just really don't. Brooks getting older, obviously. Dame's older. I don't love Chris Middleton's older. I don't love the direction that team is headed overall. But, is what it is.
Yeah, we'll get to Milwaukee, but that's really what you're saying. Then potentially Miami could be
Yeah.
a surprise.
Right.
I think they can be anyway. Yeah, those teams are kind of those 6
Mhm.
teams will battle out for those top 4. Indiana, I mean, I have my think at 50 wins, and I think the training camp with Siakam will be good.
Yeah.
Turner being eligible for a contract at the end of the year would be good. Nemhard's taken care of. Tyrese is taken care of. Neesmith is on a team friendly deal, but I think he's got another couple years. TJ's in a contract here, also McConnell, and so they could move him if they feel like he's going to be too expensive to bring back. Since Nemhard can really run the point better anyway as a backup, TJ's valuable, and
Very
so
valuable.
someone, Phoenix, whatever, might offer Indiana something of value, and they'll hate to lose TJ, but it'll be good for them in the 3 to 5 year window to come.
Yeah, and going back to last year, look, man, Indiana like mollywopped Milwaukee not only in the playoffs but in the regular season. They owned them, and that started a bit of a rivalry thing. I'll be curious to see if those two teams are the ones battling out for that last 4th spot, like how contentious those games are, because there's some bad blood for sure between those two teams stemming from last season. All right, the other team that you came out with a preview of was the Minnesota Timberwolves. We all love Ant-Man. He's ascending. And again, the piece you said, if he's not already, he is probably going to be the best 2 guard in the league. I mean, he might be there already now. I gotta
him and Booker, right?
Yeah.
What am I forgetting?
I'll give Book the edge right now for sure.
Me too.
But Ant's coming and he is a monster and so competitive, and we love everything about him. What you pointed out in your piece is what my concern is with them, and that is their starting 5 is good, but it has 2 players that it relies on that are older. Mike Conley, the older of the 2, and Rudy getting on the wrong side of 30. And the depth behind them is young and has talent, but it's unproven. And so in a weird way, they're kind of in a similar situation to Denver, right, David? In that the depth is kind of an issue for you, and it's like outside of the 5, and with Denver outside of the 4, because now Christian Braun's got to be that 5th person. You're not in love with who they have behind them.
Well, with the 6th man.
Yeah, Nasri. Excuse me. Yes, correct.
Was he 6th man of the year?
Yes, he won 6th man of the year.
So that's a big story, because if he wasn't, they'd be a lot worse, because the rest of the depth is a real problem. That's your point is right. They're back. It's not just Conley, 37, whatever he is now, and Gobert, I think, is 32. It's Gobert at least has a backup.
Yeah.
Conley doesn't.
Nope.
Like, if you look at his fans depth chart, it's Rob Dillingham. I'm not buying that. 165-pound Rob Dillingham is not going to be. I don't think. It's very, very unlikely he's a difference maker in the playoffs,
right?
Or in the regular season. To be fair, he's a young guy. Do they consolidate their 3 bigs, Cat, Rudy, Nasri, and get themselves a starting one or a backup, a couple of backups at the 1-2 spot? Nevertheless, their starting top 6 is good. Edwards is amazing. Cat seems to have found his place again. Walker as a good defender anyway, just not a good offensive player really. Finch seems to have done a good job with them, but just like with Indiana, who lost in the conference finals, Minnesota's not guaranteed to get there either.
No.
The West has a really fat middle class, and any of those teams, it'll be interesting, the arms race that we see in season. As soon as one team puts their chips in and says, all right, we're going to go from a team projected to win 47 games to one that might win 55, and now we're a contender, we'll see how the other teams react. And I have a feeling once the dam breaks, you'll see a lot of other deals with teams trying to tank, willing to get rid of good players, because this draft class is super strong.
Yeah. So Dillingham's a rookie, yes? So is the Timberwolves' reliance or their excitement about Dillingham, because you know how sometimes you do something and that blinds you because you made the decision, right? Because they drafted him, they feel so confident in who they picked that they're like, we don't need to worry about a backup. But Tyus Jones, who the Suns got for $3 million, the Timberwolves could have given him way more than $3 million. And at the very worst, then you have some competition with Dillingham, right? Which he's going to need to get better and earn backup minutes. It just seems like a big miss by Minnesota.
I mean, I don't know the details if Tyus didn't want to go back home, whatever, but Dillingham's 20 years old in January.
Oh, so he's 19.
This guy's a teenager for half the year. What teenager weighing 165, much less 265, impacts wins his first year? Played 1 year of college. I've loved his talent. But I don't love him to help this year's team. And again, they're constructed to win this year.
Correct. Yeah.
But they have a good future with him.
For
they
sure.
being so young. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where that all plays out. And again, the West is that middle class David talked about. It's going to be tight getting into that top 6 to where you get guaranteed playoffs and you're not in the play-in. It's going to be a tight race over there. All right, folks, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, David, you put something in the document about Jayson Tatum, and there was a lot of scuttlebutt around him this summer, lack of playing time on Team USA, and Tatum came out and talked about not making a jump shot when he's with Team USA. And I thought the quote was pretty interesting, and I know that you have some thoughts on it, so I'll read this for everybody. It's in The Athletic today, an interview with Tatum talking about the Olympics and everything else. I know I didn't make a jump shot when I was with Team USA. I don't know, law of averages. It's a weird rhythm thing being with Team USA. You never know exactly when you're going to get the ball, but that's part of it. You sign up for that because I've done it before at the Tokyo Olympics. I have 2 gold medals now. I have a championship, and everything doesn't necessarily go the way you expect to go, right? I've learned to be like, okay, that's a part of it. You move on. David, I know you have many thoughts about Jayson Tatum and that whole scenario.
Right. He also said he didn't complain. He didn't get angry. We all saw it. We all talked about it. I noticed nothing from him. I have a feeling this year there'll be at least one rookie somewhere that's going to be complaining about something. And I hope that those coaches show this article to him, say, like, Tatum had no ego in the Olympics. Well, where do you get off having an ego, Rook? I love that he did that. The thing I think is interesting is he talked about rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of being the guy, or one of the guys, is I've said this so many times before, as someone who's been able to coach guys that get all the shots and guys that get none of the shots. I've had guys who get none of the shots who I felt like if you gave them a lot of shots, they'd shoot much better. But they may get a shot or 2 a game. It's hard to make those. Whereas when you're getting a lot, like the guy that really helped me a lot with this was my kid, Kevin Martin, who, if he went 0-6 in the first quarter, I never even thought about it. He had 15 more shots coming.
Correct.
Like, he easily can make 6 in a row, easily, and did plenty of times. You shoot your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You get your rhythm going. The guys that don't get that chance much don't get that chance to do that.
No.
And Tatum is addressing that. He's been a long time. Even as a rookie, he was getting shots.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly his 1 year at Duke, he did.
He sure did.
So, and high school, obviously. So I thought it was a good lesson for those guys. But I also think it makes them better so that they've got reference points of you're in the finals next year against, let's say, OKC, which is the favorite in the West right now. And they're doing everything they can to keep from getting shots off, and you don't get a shot off for a quarter. You're going to have a reference point of, man, I've done this before. I got to find a way to get my rhythm going because you dealt with the Olympics and failed. And so you're aware of it now. And so I just love that I saw it in my own 2 eyes. The guy competed with joy and didn't complain, and everyone else was bitching and moaning. Celtics fans are as bad as every other kind of fan. They just don't really see the big picture. They just are fans.
For sure.
And luckily he didn't take on that attitude. And because he's got himself another gold medal, following a championship, and I think he's got some experience to bring to the team that will be good for the other guys in the Celtics to hear.
No doubt. And it's something you talk about all the time, right? Which is, so he didn't make a jump shot or whatever it was, law of averages, but you say it all the time. Failure is baked into this game, right? That's just, you're going to miss way more shots than you make. That's just how it goes, right? And the great ones understand that. And it made me think about the idea about rhythm. And we said during group play, Steph wasn't shooting well, right? And wasn't playing well on defense. And one of the things you said was, in Golden State, in the Cuisinart, he's getting a bunch of shots. So that's not the case here. But Steph, as a player a veteran, elite player who understand and knew that. And I think, again, this is just me sort of guessing, a lot of that in the semifinal game where he's going torching and he's going, don't worry about me. Like, he knows that, right? It's like, I'm not worried about going 0 for 8 in the first. I've done this and I've been around this game long enough to know it's going to come back around. That's why, I know he went blistering hot from 3, telling you, don't worry, I'm good. I know this, right? And it's how long it takes a player to get to that level to understand that. Some never get it, obviously, for obvious reasons. But the ones that do get it and understand, that's a huge benefit to being good.
Exactly right. I spoke to one of his teammates this summer, and he said nothing phases him. Yeah, he's just like you said. He's gone over 8 before.
Right.
He shot 19% in
Right.
4 games. He's done that too, and
he knows he'll do it again. It's going to happen again.
Yeah, you got to stick to the process and trust over time. It's going to work out just fine. You have to have I was telling someone yesterday, you can't just have a short-term approach to this game. You have to look at a medium-term and long-term too.
Mm-hmm.
You need to. Doesn't mean you don't lock in one possession at a time. Just don't assign emotion to it.
Yeah.
Don't assign emotion to any one consequence in one possession. That's a mistake.
Well,
just play through it.
It's your saying that you always tell people. It's like when a player's missing, you hate when they finally make one and they go, "Oh, thank God!" You're like, "No. Like it's fine."
Exactly right.
Trust in the work that we've been doing all summer long and all your whole career. Like it is what it is. Yeah, it's and that ability though, David, right? Like that's tough because you're a competitor and in the moment you're competing and trying to win. So you feel like I'm missing and I'm not helping my team because I'm missing and blowing these possessions. But it's calming the mind down and getting off the roller coaster, right? And on the merry-go-round next. Yep. It's easy to say from our comfortable podcast homes than it is on the floor in the middle of competition. But again, that's what makes the super great ones.
That's the challenge. That's the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought we would do something cool, David, using your player development eyes and brain to look at some players that were drafted 2 years ago. Year 3, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes is a marker for players where things start getting better, right? They start making winning basketball plays and they become net positive players. We use EPM here at Troop. Everybody knows that's right, estimated plus minus, and it is your effect on the game when you're on the floor per 100 possessions. And most rookies and most second year players are net negatives. They're just not good. They're not ready to help teams impact winning. Some of them by year 3, you see they switch to that positive and it trends, right? They're usually horrendous in year 1, right? In like the 20th or 30th percentile. Then in year 2, it's like, oh, they're close like the 50 or 60. And then it's like, ooh, year 3, they bumble up. So I thought, let's look at some guys and let's talk about, what David sees from them and what they should be showing now in year 3 on the floor. So one guy I want to look at is someone I think we were both pretty high on coming out of the draft, and that's Jaden Ivey. So in year 1, he was a negative 4.4 to the 13th percentile. That
which
sucks.
Is terrible.
That fucking
terrible.
sucks, right? Yeah. No, year 2, David, minus 0.8, right? The 60. Yeah. That is a huge jump. So that tells me some things are improving. Okay, so the goal now for Detroit is they probably hope this year 3, he is on the other side of that negative, a plus, not necessarily a plus 2 or 3, maybe a plus 0.8, a plus 1. What does he need to start showing, David, more this year to move himself to that side of the ledger?
Well, to begin with, he was maybe the worst defensive player, if I remember right, in the league his rookie season. So that's really where the biggest jump came.
He actually was. He was the worst.
Yeah. That's where the biggest jump came. Although on that team 2 years ago, a lot of guys were bad. So keep making progress on the defensive end, which he's capable of doing. He's such an elite athlete. Get better finishing at the rim. Focus on finishing at the rim. Draw more fouls. He's been a 33, 34% shooter the last couple of years. That needs to get better and can. And then understanding your role, is he gonna play next to Cade? I like him next to Cade. Is he gonna back up Cade as a 1? I think you could try both. They have a lot of guards. Mm-hmm. I don't think they should play Ron Holland this year. Just play the guys they have and let them get a bunch of experience. Let Ron play in the G League and a better system in the G League Ignite. You got a Sword Thompson that can play next to Jaden and Cade, which could be a very interesting group, both offensively and defensively. Just being more efficient as a player. If he keeps his defense up, even gets to be an average defender because he's little, and that offense can move forward, he'll be a plus player this year. And that would be huge for them because I love his potential.
Ginormous. How much does it hurt him? Because this is now his 3rd year in the league. He's already going on his second? No,
his third coach.
His 3rd head coach. Jesus.
Well, no, Monty had him twice.
Okay, Monty had him twice. Okay, and then
is that right? I could be wrong.
No, Monty only one. Monty only might have been one year.
Monty might have been just one and done. Yeah. It hurts. There's no sameness. There's no, there's an ease at which teams can work with their young players because terminology is the same and identities are similar. And that's just Detroit starting over again. New GM, and this GM didn't draft him.
Jesus.
Trajan didn't draft him. It was Trajan Langdon's there now.
God.
So, like, if I was, I don't know Jaden Ivey, but if I knew him, I would say, hey, buddy, this is Super Bowl night every night.
Mm-hmm.
This guy owes you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't work out, it's not on his watch.
Right.
And it's easy to say, well, we drafted bad players instead of making him play better. So you got to do that. You've got to find a way to get better yourself because they'll be quick to move on from you. It's just the way the league works.
Yeah. Moving to Houston, a player, first of all, Houston, who had a really nice turnaround last season under head coach Ime Udoka, and a player who I know you were very high on coming out of the draft, Jabari Smith Jr., similar to Jaden in where they ranked in EPM year 1 and year 2. So Jabari was a negative 2.8, 33rd percentile, negative 0.8 this year, same as Cade, 61st percentile. But where he made the biggest jump, David, was offensively. He was a 30% three-point shooter his rookie year, 36% last year. The offense seems like it's really coming for him.
It needs to continue to. He needs to find more ways to get to the rim. He's a good finisher there. He could be a great one as he gets stronger, but he should bully guys more. For me, a guy like that can really dominate the second box like Durant.
Mm-hmm.
If he can go 37, 38% from three this year, it would be magnificent. Get on the offensive glass. But he could be a plus defender. He's not a plus defender yet.
Right.
He's got a chance to be, I think. And I love him next to Şengün. I like that combination a lot. Be a great cutter, be a great sealer on the high-low action from Şengün. Find ways to beat up, bully smaller guys, shoot over them, but not just shoot over them, which I think he does too much of. Try to get to the rim some as well. Like I say, get more free throws. I love his potential as an all-star.
Yeah.
And if Houston is going to make a playoff run this year, which is possible, people are targeting Jalen Green, which is also possible.
Yep.
Because he started trending up last year late.
Yep.
If I remember right, he really trended up well. Look at EPM. If I remember that graph going up. I could be wrong, but it's what I remember. Jabari jumping up really changes that team.
Mm-hmm. And with Ime, defense, I know is something he's going to be working on Jabari with. And David, just like Ivy, he's only 20. Like these guys, so if they're getting good at 21, like we have a runway now that we can really start talking. Like, now you're cooking with grease, as I like to say. Looking over now at Keegan Murray, who's an interesting guy, David, because unlike the other two, Keegan, by year 2, was already a net positive and a very good net positive. I'm pulling him up right now. So year 1, he was a -1, which is pretty good for a rookie, 33rd percentile, or -0.7, 61st percentile. Year 2, he was already plus 1.8, 86th percentile, which was incredible. He's older than the other two guys, already 23 years old. He strikes me as someone, as David, that because he's mature age-wise and knowing how to play, he raises your floor higher than those guys because his level of competence he already came in with. But maybe his upside is nowhere near as high as someone like Jabari Smith Jr. Am I right to see it that way?
Well, yes, but the correlation is there. The causation isn't exactly the case. And what I mean by that is just because he's got a higher IQ, higher maturity level, higher EQ, all that, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a higher ceiling. You're right. Dead right. That's why his floor is higher. Well, plus he's skilled, right?
Yes.
Defends, can shoot. For him to get better, he's not going to get herky-jerky off the dribble all of a sudden. He is who he is, but he can be Chris Middleton. So if he goes from being three-point shooter, good basketball player, to three-point shooter, good basketball player, gets you a bucket and ISO from 18 feet with 1 second on the clock against an elite defender, like Chris Middleton has done many times, that's a game changer. And now he's an all-star.
Yes.
I have no idea if he can get there. I know it's possible. So I should say I have some idea that it's possible. That he will or not, too hard to say. Too many other factors in Sacramento. But it was a great draft pick for them. He is going to be a solid player for them, part of a winning culture. And he's still got the upside to get to a Middleton level if he can just find ways to score over guys with it, because he's not going to dribble by him. Just make shots over him, which is possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, his rookie year, right? He came out and had that playoff run when Sacramento was in the playoffs and looked so good. And I'm so impressed in that first series. I was like, wow, look at this guy. That was very, very
They love him there.
Yeah.
They love him there. I have a former player that I coached when he was a pro that is a coach there. And he's like a real part of their core in terms of culture building, not just on the court.
Yep. Another player I like, David, again, goes back into that young category, is Dyson Daniels, who's now on the Atlanta Hawks, was on the Pelicans, part of that trade that got DeJounte Murray into New Orleans.
Yeah.
Again, his rookie year, a minus 2.3, 39th percentile. Last year, minus 0.3, 68th percentile. The biggest jump he made was offensively. He was one of the worst offensive players in the league at minus 4.1 his rookie year. Got up to minus 1.7, still bad, but improved. But from day one, an elite defender. What do you think about Dyson Daniels?
You know, the guys that I talked, he was hurt some last year. The guys that I talked to in New Orleans were pretty consistent with has a chance to be a really elite on-ball and off-ball defender. Super valuable at the guard spot.
Yep.
They thought he could play some point, which is not something people, I think, projected originally. So if that's true, where he can really guard ones and dominate the ball offensively, or at least be a quarterback, great. Atlanta, he could be a great fit next to Trae Young for sure, because if he can guard those ones, he's got to be able to make shots.
Yeah,
and that's going to be the big thing. I think he's in a better situation. Just the fit wasn't great, especially when they brought CJ in.
Yep.
He should get a lot of minutes in Atlanta and build around him and Jalen Johnson, because when you're that kind of defender, you should be in the league a long time. You just got to develop your offensive game, and you need rope to do it and time to do it. And I think that the Hawks can give him that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Rounding out and finishing up, let's talk about Jalen Duren at Detroit. Another guy I know you were high on, another 20-year-old who, again, has also made some progress. Minus 1.2 in EPM as a rookie, minus 0.5 last year. Again, made the biggest jump. Actually, about even both sides, offensively and defensively, made some improvements. What do you like about him at 6'11"?
I mean, there's never going to be a Ben Wallace, but this guy could be. Ooh. He could be. I wasn't high on him coming out of the draft. I wasn't low on him. I didn't really know him all that well. I liked him when I saw him. Like, oh man, this guy's a creature. He's a monster. Just built to dominate NBA games. And a great personality. I've heard great things about him as a person. Heard he's really smart, erudite guy that gets it, wants to be great. So yeah, play like Ben Wallace. He's not a straight shot blocker. He's a great defensive rebounder, which Ben was. So get the shot blocking down, protect the rim better. I think he needs to tailor his offensive game to mostly around the rim, dominate the offensive glass, finish on pick and rolls, be able to read it on short rolls if you need to, because Cade will get blitzed some, and just catch a bunch of lobs. And he's 20 years old, I think,
20.
for a few more months anyway. So it's a young guy that, if he could be their anchor at center, they've between him and Cade and maybe Jaden, Sora Thompson, now Ron Holland, and there's others.
They could be something.
They have the makings of a lot of young talent. They got to put it together,
which of course we know is not easy. One of the things that we talk about with big men, you mentioned this with Wemby, although clearly he's far more advanced than Jalen Duren, but a lot of big men is sort of taking advantage of points that are on the floor that you're missing. Yeah. So if you're working with a player, how do you coach them and teach them to gobble up, for lack of a better term, the garbage and the loose points that are hanging around?
It's really easy. It's really easy. First of all, skill-wise, you have to develop better hands. The guys that have great hands, just the ball kind of, it's almost like using the force. Yeah, right, exactly. And then the other thing is you got to hang around the rim more. Don't be in such a rush to not be around the rim. You don't hang in the corners. When you're in the corner, someone shoots, go to the rim. Don't hang on the wing, go to the rim. Don't hang at the nail, go to the rim. Just be at the rim as much as possible. That's where the garbage men do their work. And I mean, I've coached like 5'10" garbage men who just had incredible hands, incredible strength. I had a player named Roderick Jackson, 5'10" boxer from the worst projects we had.
So tough, loves contact
and quick hands. I played him at 5'10". I played him in the short corner. And I don't remember anymore, but it was something like 130 free throws later in 22 games. I'm sure I'm wrong. I bet he didn't shoot that many free throws. But boy, because this was 1988, 89. I think he was a freshman for me. And but he lived on the line, playing him at a short corner. Everything on the ground was his. And I've been doing it ever since when I was coaching. And I still coach NBA players now all the time, like just hanging on the rim. That's what Wiseman needs to do. That's what Duren needs to do. Hang on to him, give luck a chance to happen, then make something happen when it's, I understand why you want to get back in defense, but the offensive possession isn't over yet.
Correct.
We like, as I say to players all the time, we like to score. Right? I know you want to get back on defense, but we like to score. So, and you get paid to score.
Yeah.
So hang around the rim, get yourself some easy buckets.
Yeah, I love it. No, this is great stuff. I want to do some more of this with you, so I'll look up some more players that I'm excited about that potentially could be something. All right, folks.
I'll give you a homework assignment.
Ooh,
you always give me one. So you find 5 guys.
Yeah.
I'll give you one at the top of my head because we talked about the Pacers.
Okay.
So Nembhard would be one.
Okay.
Give me 4 more guys.
Okay.
That are good players now. Like
right.
Nembhard just got paid. Most of these guys and this guys don't get paid. You can look at his class. I think it was 2022. I could be wrong. Maybe I don't remember. I really can't keep track. He's been in the league 2 years. 4 other guys that can make that jump. Don't use Najee Marshall because I love Najee Marshall.
Right.
But he has a chance to really, if he ends up starting at the 3, which I'm not saying he will,
but he could.
So find 4 of the guys that can, like the Derek Smith Jr. came out of nowhere last year. He was a more veteran player. You don't have to pick a veteran player, but there's some guys that could be game changers. The way Maxey jumped, probably more predictable. So don't just pick the lottery pick guys. Yeah, pick some ones that you can, though, if they just are in position to really make a big difference. Because those guys could be the guys we're talking about come April.
Listen, and they're so important. We know it. And it's about, again, playing time, development. Coach always says it's like oxygen. Like they need it like they need air to breathe. That's how they get better. They don't get better sitting on the bench not doing anything. So hopefully teams figure out what they can do and figure out who those guys are going forward. A couple quick programming reminder, guys. Monday is Labor Day, so we will not have an episode on Monday. We will see you next Thursday, so enjoy the last official weekend of summer, or unofficial, I should say. Unofficial weekend of summer, and we will see you next week. Take care.